Welcome to my channel Bookish English. I am Ariel, and today I want to ask you something honestly. Have you ever read one full page in English and then suddenly realized you understood almost nothing? Have you ever read the same paragraph again and again while your confidence slowly disappeared? If yes, then this video may completely change the way you see English reading forever. Because the truth is shocking. Most English learners are not weak readers. They were simply never taught how the reading brain actually works. Most people try to translate every word, panic at difficult sentences, and force themselves to understand everything perfectly. And because of that, reading starts feeling stressful instead of powerful. But in this video, you will learn the real psychology, neuroscience, and smart reading techniques behind English fluency. And trust me, Lesson 4, Lesson 5, and the final lesson can completely transform the way you understand and think in English. So stay with me till the end. Lesson 1. Why English reading feels hard. Have you ever opened an English book, read one paragraph, and suddenly felt like your brain became tired? You know some words. You understand a few sentences. But when you reach the end of the paragraph, you ask yourself, what did I just read? You go back. You read it again. Then again. Still, the meaning feels unclear. And slowly, a painful thought enters your mind. Maybe my English is weak. Maybe reading is not for me. Maybe I will never understand English books, articles, stories, or newspapers properly. But listen carefully. The problem is not that you are weak. The problem is that nobody taught you how to read English in the right way. Most learners are told, read more. But they are not told how to read. They are not told what to do when they see difficult words. They are not told how to handle long sentences. They are not told how to keep meaning in the mind. And because of that, reading becomes a battle instead of becoming a beautiful journey. The biggest myth about English reading is this. Many learners believe that a good reader understands every single word. This is not true. Strong readers do not understand every word perfectly. Strong readers understand meaning. They know how to move forward. They know how to guess. They know how to connect ideas. They know when to stop and when to continue. But beginners often do the opposite. They stop at every unknown word. They open the dictionary again and again. They translate every sentence into their own language. And while they are busy translating words, the full meaning disappears from their mind. This is why a learner can understand the words, but still not understand the paragraph. Reading is not just word meaning. Reading is idea meaning. If you only collect words, you may still lose the message. Now let us understand what happens inside your brain when you read. Your brain has a small mental space called working memory. You can think of it like a small table inside your mind. When you read a sentence, your brain puts the words on this table and tries to connect them. If the sentence is simple, your brain handles it easily. But when the sentence has difficult vocabulary, long grammar, unknown phrases, and unfamiliar ideas, the table becomes crowded. Then your brain gets overloaded. This is called cognitive overload. It means your mind is carrying too much at the same time. You are trying to understand the word. You are trying to translate the sentence. You are trying to remember the first part. You are trying to guess the grammar. You are trying not to feel nervous, Gran. And because your brain is doing too many jobs, it cannot focus on the real meaning. This is why English reading feels heavy. Many beginner and intermediate learners feel lost because they read English without a system. They start from the first word and push themselves until the last word. They do not look at the title first. They do not predict the topic. They do not ask what the paragraph is about. They do not separate the main idea from the details. They do not read in chunks. They do not use the sentence around a difficult word to guess meaning. They do not summarize after reading. So the brain receives English like a storm. Words come. Sentences come. New ideas come. But nothing is organized. And when information is not organized, the brain forgets it quickly. This is not laziness. This is not stupidity. This is simply a wrong reading process. Another big problem is the translation trap. Many learners read English with one hidden habit. They read one sentence in English, then immediately convert it into their own language. At the beginning, translation feels helpful. It feels safe. But after some time, it becomes a wall. When you translate too much, your brain does not build direct connection with English. It waits for your first language before understanding. This makes reading slow. It makes speaking slow. It makes thinking slow. Imagine you are walking on a road, but after every 2 steps, you stop and go back. You will never feel flow. This is what over-translation does to your reading. The better way is to train your brain to catch meaning directly. At first, it will feel uncomfortable. But slowly, your brain will learn that English is not something to decode word by word. English is something to feel, understand, and use. You also need to understand one important truth. Reading is not completely natural. Speaking and listening come to human beings naturally, because children hear language around them. But reading is a trained skill. Your eyes must learn how to move across lines. Your brain must learn how to connect symbols with sound and meaning. Your memory must learn how to hold ideas. Your attention must learn how to stay with the text. That is why reading can feel difficult even for intelligent people. If your eyes jump back again and again, if your mind wanders, if you lose the line, if you forget the first part of the sentence, it does not mean you are bad at English. It means your reading muscles need training. Just like the body becomes stronger with exercise, the reading brain becomes stronger with practice. And here is the most beautiful truth. You can train this skill. You can become a better English reader. You do not need to start with a difficult novel. You do not need to understand every word. You do not need to read for 2 hours. You need the right method. You need small steps. You need the courage to read one simple paragraph and understand it properly. Then another paragraph. Then another page. Slowly, your brain starts recognizing patterns. Common words become familiar. Sentences stop looking scary. Your reading speed improves. Your confidence grows. You begin to feel English instead of fighting with it. This is how real reading improvement begins. Not with pressure, not with shame, not with fear. It begins with a system. So if English reading feels hard for you right now, do not think, I cannot do it. Think, I need to learn the right way. From today, stop blaming yourself. Your struggle has a reason. Your confusion has a reason. Your slow reading has a reason. And if there is a reason, there is also a solution. In the next lesson, we will talk about how to build your English reading habit in a smart way. You will learn how to choose the right material, how long to read, how to make reading interesting, and how to train your brain without pressure. Because before you become a powerful reader, you must first become a regular reader. And once reading becomes part of your life, English will not stay outside you anymore. It will slowly enter your mind, your voice, and your confidence. Lesson 2. Build your reading habit. There is a painful moment that almost every English learner experiences. One day you feel highly motivated. You open a book. You tell yourself, "This time I will improve my English seriously." You read for one day, maybe 2 days, maybe even 1 week. But slowly the excitement disappears. The book stays on the table. The reading habit breaks. Then, guilt enters your mind. You start thinking, why can't I stay consistent? Why do I always stop? And after some time, many learners silently give up. Not because they are incapable, not because they are lazy, but because nobody taught them how to build a reading habit that feels natural, realistic, and emotionally sustainable. Most learners think fluency comes from huge effort in one day, but the truth is very different. English grows through repeated contact. Your brain learns through exposure. The more you see English, the more familiar it becomes. The more familiar it becomes, the less energy your brain needs to understand it. This is why reading habit matters so much. Reading is not only giving you vocabulary. Reading is training your brain to recognize sentence patterns, grammar flow, expressions, rhythm, and meaning automatically. Every paragraph you read is like exercise for your English brain. At first, the brain feels tired. But slowly, something beautiful happens. The sentences stop looking strange. Your eyes move faster. Your understanding becomes smoother. You start noticing phrases naturally. This is why researchers say, the more you read, the better you read. Reading improves reading itself. One of the biggest mistakes learners make is waiting for the perfect moment. They think, first I will improve my grammar, then I will start reading. Or they say, I need a difficult book because easy books are childish. This mindset quietly destroys confidence. You do not build strength by lifting the heaviest weight on the first day. You build strength, step by step. English reading works the same way. If every page feels painful, your brain starts connecting reading with stress. And when the brain connects something with stress, it tries to avoid it. This is why many learners feel tired, even before opening a book. The smartest readers choose material that feels understandable. Not too easy, not impossible. A good reading text is one where you understand most of the meaning already. Maybe you do not know every word, but you still understand the message. This is extremely important because confidence grows from comprehension. If you understand nothing, motivation dies. But when you understand enough to enjoy the text, your brain feels rewarded. This is why graded readers, simple stories, beginner novels, short articles, And easy news can be powerful. There is no shame in reading easy English. Easy reading is not weakness. Easy reading is training. And please remember this deeply. Read what you genuinely enjoy. If you love stories, read stories. If you love motivation, read motivational texts. If you love sports, business, psychology, history, or technology, start there. Interest is not a small thing. Interest is fuel. When a topic touches your emotions, your brain pays more attention. You remember more. You stay longer. You return again the next day. Many learners force themselves to read boring texts because they think difficult reading equals serious learning. But forced reading often creates silent frustration. Real reading habit grows when curiosity and English meet together. Now let us talk about routine. A reading habit does not need 2 hours daily. In fact, for many beginners, long reading sessions create mental exhaustion. What you need is consistency. 10 or 20 minutes daily is enough to begin changing your brain. Some learners read in the morning because the mind feels fresh. Some read before sleeping because it feels peaceful. Some divide reading into small chunks during the day. There is no perfect schedule. The real secret is regular contact with English. Even 1 page daily matters more than reading 20 pages once a month. Your environment also shapes your habit more than you realize. If your phone is always in your hand, reading becomes harder. If your books stay hidden in a drawer, your brain forgets them. But when a book stays near your bed, on your desk, or inside your bag, your brain receives a silent reminder. This is environment psychology. Human behavior follows visibility. What stays close gets repeated. This is why many strong readers create a reading corner, a reading chair, or a small reading moment in their daily routine. These tiny signals train the brain. There is another secret that changed many readers' lives. Start telling yourself, I am becoming a reader. This may sound simple, but identity changes. Behavior. When you keep saying, I hate reading, your brain protects that identity. But when you slowly start saying, I am someone who reads daily, your actions begin changing. Small wins create motivation. Finishing 1 paragraph gives satisfaction. Finishing 1 short story builds confidence. And confidence creates momentum. This is how the brain builds habits. Not through pressure, but through repeated success. You also need to understand the power of extensive reading. Extensive reading means reading for flow, enjoyment, and general understanding. It means you do not stop for every unknown word. You continue reading and trust your brain to learn through repetition and context. At first, this feels uncomfortable because many learners want complete control over every word. But real fluency grows when the brain learns to tolerate uncertainty. Strong readers do not panic when they see 1 difficult word. They continue moving, and slowly the language starts becoming familiar naturally. Reading confidence is built in silence. 1 page, 1 paragraph, 1 short article, 1 small victory at a time. Nobody becomes a strong reader overnight. Every fluent reader was once confused. Every confident reader once felt slow. The difference is that they stayed with the process long enough for the brain to adapt. And your brain can adapt too. Human brains are designed to learn patterns. If you keep feeding your mind understandable English every day, your reading will improve. Maybe slowly at first, but deeply and permanently. So do not wait for perfect grammar. Do not wait for perfect vocabulary. Start now. Read one page today, then another tomorrow. Because English reading is not a race. It is a relationship. And relationships become stronger with daily connection. In the next lesson, we are going to learn how smart readers actually approach a text before reading. You will learn how to preview, predict, skim, scan, and activate your brain before your eyes even reach the first paragraph. And once you learn that, reading will stop feeling random and start feeling intelligent. Lesson 3. Read like a smart reader. One of the biggest reasons English learners feel exhausted while reading is very simple. They read blindly. They open a page and immediately attack the first sentence without preparing their brain first. Then, after a few lines, confusion begins growing silently. The paragraph starts feeling heavy. The mind becomes slower. Attention disappears. And finally, the learner reaches the end of the page without truly understanding what happened. This experience is extremely common, especially among beginner and intermediate learners. But here is the truth that changes everything. Strong readers do not simply read harder. Strong readers read smarter. Before they even begin reading properly, their brain is already preparing itself for meaning. And this single difference changes comprehension completely. Many learners think reading starts from the first sentence, but research on reading comprehension shows that reading actually begins before the eyes touch the paragraph. The brain needs preparation. The brain needs direction. The brain needs prediction. Imagine entering a completely dark room without knowing where anything is. You move slowly. You hit objects. You feel lost. But if somebody gives you a small light before entering, suddenly everything becomes easier. Pre-reading works exactly like that small light. It prepares your brain before the real reading begins. So before you read any English text, stop for a moment and preview it first. Look at the title carefully. Look at the headings. Look at the pictures if they exist. Look at highlighted words. Look at the first and last lines. These small actions may look unimportant, but they activate your brain in a powerful way. Your mind starts creating expectations. It starts searching memory for related knowledge. It starts building a mental map. This process is called activating background knowledge, and it is one of the most important secrets behind strong reading comprehension. For example, imagine you are going to read an article titled, "Why Sleep Improves Memory." Before reading, your brain already starts thinking about sleep. The brain, memory, tiredness, studying, concentration, and daily life. Suddenly, the article does not feel completely unknown anymore. Your mind already has hooks to connect new information. But when learners skip this preparation, the text feels cold and unfamiliar. Everything looks random. This is why previewing matters so much. It wakes up the brain before reading starts. Another mistake learners make is reading without purpose. They sit with a text, but they do not know why they are reading it. Are they reading for the main idea? Are they reading for vocabulary? Are they reading for details? Are they reading for enjoyment? Are they reading for speaking practice? Different purposes create different reading styles. Smart readers always know what they are searching for. This gives focus to the brain. And when the brain has focus, comprehension becomes stronger. If your goal is to understand the general meaning, you do not need to stop at every difficult word. But if your goal is vocabulary learning, then you may pay more attention to expressions and phrases. If your goal is speaking practice, then you may focus on sentence structure and pronunciation. Reading purpose changes reading behavior. This is why professional readers, researchers, and strong students approach texts differently, depending on their goal. Now let us talk about one of the most powerful reading techniques in the world: skimming. Many learners think good reading means slow reading. But that is not always true. Sometimes your brain needs a quick overview before deep understanding. Skimming means reading quickly for the general idea. You are not trying to understand every detail. You are trying to understand the overall message. You move your eyes faster across the text and focus on keywords, topic sentences, repeated ideas, and important concepts. This technique is extremely important because it gives your brain a mental structure first. When you already know the general topic, the detailed reading becomes much easier later. Think about it like looking at a map before traveling through a city. Without the map, every street feels confusing. With the map, your brain already understands direction. Many learners make themselves tired because they try to deeply understand every sentence during the first reading. This creates pressure and cognitive overload. But skimming removes this pressure. It tells your brain, relax. First, understand the big picture. And once the big picture becomes clear, details stop feeling so dangerous. Another smart technique is scanning. Scanning is different from skimming. Skimming searches for the general idea. Scanning searches for specific information. Maybe you are searching for a date, a number, a reason, a name, or an example. Instead of reading every line slowly, your eyes move strategically through the text, looking for the target information. This skill saves energy and increases reading efficiency. Imagine reading a news article and searching for one important fact. A weak reader slowly reads every single line. A smart reader scans for keywords related to the answer. This is why scanning is used in exams, research, newspapers, and professional reading. It trains the eyes and brain to work together intelligently. Now here comes one of the deepest secrets of comprehension. Predict while reading. Strong readers are constantly guessing what might come next. They do not passively wait for information. Their brain stays active. If a paragraph starts talking about climate change, the brain predicts causes, effects, solutions, or examples before they appear. This prediction process increases concentration because the brain becomes curious. And curiosity creates attention. This is why stories are powerful. Your brain naturally predicts while reading stories. What will happen next? Why did the character do this? What problem is coming? Prediction turns reading into mental participation instead of silent decoding. And the more your brain participates, the more it remembers. You should also ask questions while reading. Many learners read silently, like robots moving from one sentence to another. But smart readers have internal conversations with the text. They ask, what is the writer trying to say? Why is this important? What does this example mean? Do I agree with this? What might happen next? These questions keep the brain awake. Reading comprehension is not only about seeing words, it is about thinking during reading. Research shows that active readers understand and remember more because their brain stays engaged. Passive readers see the text. Active readers interact with the text. This difference changes everything. There is another important truth you must understand. Attention is fragile. Many learners lose focus after 2 or 3 paragraphs because their brain is not emotionally engaged. But when you preview, predict, skim, scan, and question, reading becomes interactive. Your brain stops feeling trapped. It starts feeling involved, and involvement creates memory. This is why smart reading feels different from painful reading. Smart reading gives direction to the brain. It reduces confusion. It organizes information. It builds curiosity. It transforms reading from a struggle into a process of discovery. And let me tell you something very important. If you currently feel slow while reading English, that does not mean you are bad at reading. It often means your brain has never been taught these techniques properly. Most learners are simply thrown into texts without preparation, but now you are learning how strong readers actually think. And once your brain starts using these methods repeatedly, comprehension begins changing naturally. In the next lesson, we are going to enter one of the biggest fears in English reading: difficult vocabulary and long sentences. You will learn how to stop panicking when you see unknown words. You will learn how to break long sentences into understandable parts. You will learn how smart readers guess meaning from context instead of running to the dictionary every few seconds. And once you master that skill, difficult English texts will stop feeling impossible and start feeling manageable. Lesson 4. Defeat. Difficult English texts. There is a moment that almost every English learner secretly fears. You are reading comfortably for a few lines, and suddenly a difficult word appears. Then another one. Then a long sentence comes like a giant wall in front of your eyes. Your reading speed slows down immediately. Your confidence drops. Your brain quietly whispers, I can't do this. And within a few seconds, the reading that once felt smooth suddenly feels impossible. Many learners stop right there. Some close the book. Some open the dictionary after every line. Some reread the same sentence 5 times. Some blame themselves and think they are not intelligent enough for English. But listen carefully. Difficult English texts are not the enemy. The real enemy is panic. The real enemy is not knowing what to do when difficulty appears. One of the biggest changes you must make in your reading journey is this: unknown words are normal. Even advanced English readers meet words they do not know. Native speakers also meet unfamiliar vocabulary while reading science books, philosophy articles, legal texts, or medical journals. Good readers are not people who know every word. Good readers are people who know how to continue reading even when they do not know every word. Many learners destroy their reading flow because they believe every unknown word is an emergency. The moment they see a difficult word, they immediately stop and grab the dictionary. Then they return to the sentence. Then another unknown word appears. Again, they stop. Again, they search. Slowly, the paragraph breaks into pieces. Meaning disappears. Attention disappears. Motivation disappears. This habit is extremely common, and researchers often call this a form of cognitive interruption because the brain keeps losing connection with the full message. Think about it this way. Imagine watching a movie, but every 10 seconds someone pauses the screen and explains one object in the scene. You would never emotionally connect with the story. The same thing happens during reading when you interrupt yourself too much. Your brain needs flow to build meaning. This is why strong readers do not stop for every unknown word. They first try to continue. They first try to understand the bigger picture. This does not mean dictionaries are bad. Dictionaries are powerful tools. But the problem begins when the dictionary becomes a crutch instead of support. A smart reader uses the dictionary strategically, not emotionally. First, try to understand from context. Continue reading the sentence. Continue reading the paragraph. Ask yourself, can I still understand the general meaning without this word? Many times the answer is yes. And this brings us to one of the most important reading skills in English: guessing meaning from context. This skill changes everything because it trains your brain to think instead of panic. Imagine you are reading this sentence. After running for 2 hours under the hot sun, Alex felt exhausted. Maybe you do not know the word exhausted, but you know he ran for 2 hours. You know the weather was hot. Your brain can guess the emotion or condition: tired, weak, drained. This is context reading. Strong readers constantly use surrounding information to build meaning. They use tone, situation, examples, emotions, and logic. They understand that words live inside sentences, not alone in dictionaries. And the more your brain practices this skill, the more independent your reading becomes. Another extremely powerful strategy is understanding parts of speech. This sounds technical at first, but it is actually simple and practical. When you see an unknown word, ask yourself, is it a noun, a verb, an adjective, or an adverb? Sometimes grammar itself gives clues about meaning. For example, if the unknown word comes after very, it is probably describing something. If it comes after to, it may be a verb. If it comes before a noun, it may be an adjective. These small observations help your brain organize the sentence instead of feeling lost inside it. Good readers do not only read words, they notice relationships between words. Now let us talk about another hidden problem. Many learners memorize vocabulary in isolation. They write one word and one translation. Then they forget it after 2 days. Why? Because the brain remembers meaningful connection better than isolated information. Real English does not work in single words. Real English works in chunks. For example, do not only learn the word decision, learn make a decision. Do not only learn attention, learn pay attention. Do not only learn mistake, learn make mistakes. These combinations are called collocations, and they are one of the biggest secrets behind natural English understanding. When you learn vocabulary in chunks, your brain starts recognizing entire meaning groups quickly. Reading becomes smoother because the brain stops translating word by word. Long sentences are another major fear for learners. Sometimes you reach the end of a sentence and completely forget how it started. This happens because the sentence is carrying too much information at once. But strong readers know a simple secret. Break the sentence into smaller meaning units. When you see a long sentence, first find the subject. Who or what is the sentence about? Then find the main action. What is happening? Then find the result or important detail. Ignore extra information for a moment. Once the basic structure becomes clear, the sentence becomes less frightening. For example, if a sentence says, "The young scientist, who had spent years researching memory and learning, finally discovered a technique that improved reading comprehension," your brain should first catch the skeleton. Scientist discovered technique, then later you add the extra details. This method reduces overload and gives confidence back to the reader. Another hidden reading skill is tracking pronouns. Many learners become confused because they lose track of words like he, she, it, they, this, and that. But these words are extremely important because they connect ideas together. When you see it, ask yourself, what does it refer to? When you see they, ask yourself, who are they? This small habit keeps meaning connected inside your mind. You also need to notice what I call reading road signs. Words like however, therefore, because, although, for example, finally, and meanwhile are signals. They tell your brain how ideas are connected. However signals contrast. Because gives reason. For example, introduces evidence. These words guide comprehension like road signs guide drivers. Many learners ignore them completely, and because of that, the paragraph feels random. One more powerful strategy is reading in meaning groups instead of reading one word at a time. Your eyes should not jump nervously from word to word. Instead, train yourself to see small chunks together. For example, instead of reading in the middle of the night, your brain should eventually recognize the whole phrase as one meaning group. This improves reading speed and fluency naturally. And let me tell you something important from the heart. Struggling with difficult English texts does not mean you are failing. It means your brain is still training. Every strong reader you admire once felt overwhelmed too. The difference is not talent. The difference is strategy and repetition. The more your brain practices handling difficult texts calmly, the stronger it becomes. Slowly, the fear disappears. Slowly, difficult sentences stop looking dangerous. Slowly, English starts feeling understandable instead of impossible. In the next lesson, we are going to go even deeper. You will learn how to understand meaning beyond the words themselves. You will learn how to find the main idea, understand hidden meaning, recognize opinion and bias, summarize intelligently, and think critically while reading. Because true reading mastery does not happen when you only understand words. It happens when you understand ideas, emotions, intentions, and meaning hidden beneath the surface of the text. Lesson 5. Understand beyond the words. Many English learners believe reading success means understanding vocabulary and grammar correctly. So they spend years memorizing words, studying tenses, and translating sentences. But even after all that effort, something still feels missing. They can read the words, but they cannot deeply feel the meaning. They can understand the sentence, but they cannot understand the writer's intention. They can finish the article, but after 10 minutes, they forget almost everything, and slowly a painful frustration grows inside them because they start asking themselves, why do I still feel disconnected from English, even after reading so much? The answer is very important. Real reading is not only about seeing words. Real reading is about understanding ideas, emotions, hidden meaning, and human intention. And this is where true reading comprehension begins. There are actually 3 levels of reading, and most learners stay trapped at only the first level. The first level is called reading on the line. This means understanding the direct meaning of the text. You understand what happened. You understand the information clearly written in front of you. For example, if a sentence says, "The boy walked home in the rain," then you understand the visible meaning. A boy, walking home, rain. This is the surface level of reading. But strong readers do not stop there. They move to the second level, which is reading between the lines. This means understanding implied meaning. Maybe the writer never directly says the boy is sad, lonely, or exhausted, but the description, tone, and situation quietly suggests those emotions. This is where reading becomes deeper. You stop reading only with your eyes and start reading with your thinking. Then comes the third level, the most powerful level of all, reading beyond the lines. This means questioning the ideas, evaluating the message, noticing bias, detecting emotional manipulation, and forming your own opinion. At this level, reading becomes critical thinking. You are no longer passively accepting information, you are interacting with it. And honestly, this is where many learners struggle silently. They focus so much on individual words that they never reach deeper meaning. They become word readers instead of idea readers. But English becomes truly powerful when you understand the invisible message hidden beneath the visible sentence. One of the most important reading skills is separating the main idea from details. Weak readers often treat every sentence equally important. Their brain tries to carry every piece of information at the same level, and because of that, overload happens quickly. But strong readers constantly ask one simple question: what is the writer really trying to say? Imagine reading an article about healthy sleep. The examples, statistics, stories, and explanations are details, but the central message may simply be, sleep improves physical and mental performance. Once your brain catches the main idea, the details become easier to organize. This is why understanding the main idea changes comprehension completely. Without it, reading feels like carrying random pieces of information with no structure. Another powerful skill is inference. Inference means understanding information that is not directly written. This skill is extremely important because real English communication often hides meaning indirectly. For example, if a story says, Sarah looked at the empty chair and slowly closed the door, the writer may never directly say she feels emotional, lonely, or disappointed, but your brain can infer emotion from the situation. Strong readers constantly infer while reading. They connect clues together. They notice tone. They notice silence. They notice emotional atmosphere. And this makes reading feel alive instead of mechanical. Now let us talk about something very important in modern reading: facts versus opinions. Many learners read everything with equal trust, but intelligent reading requires questioning. A fact can usually be proven. An opinion reflects belief, feeling, judgment, or interpretation. If somebody says, water freezes at 0 degrees Celsius, that is a fact. But if somebody says, winter is the most beautiful season, that is opinion. This difference matters deeply because today, people read news, social media, articles, blogs, advertisements, and online information every day. Some texts are informative, some are persuasive, some are emotionally manipulative. If learners cannot recognize this difference, they become emotionally controlled by every dramatic sentence they read. And this connects to another powerful reading skill: detecting emotional language. Writers often use emotionally loaded words to influence readers. Words like disaster, shocking, unbelievable, dangerous, or miracle immediately create emotional reactions. Strong readers notice this. They ask themselves, is this information balanced, or is the writer trying to emotionally push me in one direction? This is called bias detection, and it is one of the strongest forms of critical reading. Bias does not always mean lying. Sometimes it simply means the writer is showing one side more strongly than another. Intelligent readers learn to recognize this calmly instead of blindly accepting everything they read. Now let us move toward one of the most powerful comprehension tools in existence: summarizing. Many learners think reading ends when the paragraph ends, but real comprehension often begins after reading. When you summarize, you force your brain to organize information clearly. You stop copying the writer's words and start expressing the meaning in your own understanding. This is why summaries are so powerful for memory. The brain remembers processed information better than repeated information. If you only reread, your brain may feel familiar with the text without deeply learning it. But when you explain the text simply, in your own words, your brain builds stronger memory pathways. A beautiful method is the one-sentence summary technique. After reading a paragraph, ask yourself, can I explain the main idea in one simple sentence? This small habit transforms passive reading into active thinking. Another excellent tool is concept mapping. Many learners feel overwhelmed because ideas float separately inside their mind. Concept mapping organizes them visually. You place the main idea in the center. Around it, you add supporting points, examples, vocabulary, causes, effects, and connections. Suddenly, the text becomes structured instead of chaotic. This method is extremely useful because the human brain naturally remembers connected information better than isolated information. Strong readers constantly connect ideas mentally, even when they are not drawing maps physically. Memory and recall are deeply connected to engagement. If your brain is emotionally and mentally active while reading, memory becomes stronger naturally. This is why questioning, summarizing, predicting, and discussing improve comprehension so much. Passive reading creates weak memory. Active reading creates durable understanding. And this brings us to one of the most powerful reading habits of all: discussion and retelling. Many learners read silently, but never speak about what they read. Because of that, the information stays weak inside the brain. But when you explain an article, summarize a story, or discuss an idea with someone else, your comprehension deepens dramatically. This is why teachers often say, if you can teach it, you understand it. Retelling forces your brain to rebuild meaning actively. It exposes weak understanding and strengthens strong understanding. And most importantly, it connects reading with speaking fluency. You do not need perfect English to retell something. Even simple sentences are powerful. This article is about the writer believes one important idea is that most speaking habits transform reading into living English. And let me tell you something important from the heart. Many learners secretly think they are weak because they cannot deeply understand difficult English texts immediately. But deep reading is not instant. It is a trained mental skill. Every strong reader once struggled to notice hidden meaning, emotional tone, and writer intention. These abilities grow through repeated practice and intelligent reading habits. You are no longer learning to simply decode English. You are learning to think through English. You are learning to understand human ideas through another language. And that is a beautiful transformation. In the next lesson, we are going to complete this journey by turning reading into fluency itself. You will learn how to transform reading into speaking power, thinking power, confidence, pronunciation improvement, and real-life English expression. Because true reading mastery is not only understanding texts. True mastery happens when the English you read slowly becomes the English you think, speak, and live. Lesson 6. Turn reading into fluency. There is something painful that many English learners never say loudly, but they feel it deeply inside. They read English every day. They understand many words. They watch videos. They study grammar. They even finish books sometimes. But when the moment comes to speak, their mind suddenly becomes empty. The words disappear. Confidence disappears. And they quietly ask themselves, if I read so much English, then why can't I speak fluently? This question hurts because learners feel they are working hard, but the results do not match the effort. And honestly, this is where many people lose hope. They start believing that maybe fluency is only for talented people. Maybe some brains are naturally good at languages and some are not. But that is not true at all. The real problem is that many learners stop at input. They read English, but they never transform reading into active language. They receive English, but they do not release it back into the world. And language grows strongest when input and output work together. Reading alone is powerful, but reading alone is not enough. If you want fluency, the English you read must slowly become the English you think, remember, speak, and feel naturally. This is why one of the most powerful techniques in language learning is the read and retell method. This method looks simple, but it changes the brain deeply. You read a short paragraph or article first. Then you close the book and explain the meaning in your own words. Not perfect words, your own words. This process forces your brain to retrieve information actively instead of passively recognizing it. And research on memory and language learning shows something very important. Retrieval strengthens learning more deeply than rereading. Many learners keep rereading the same page again and again because rereading feels safe. But sometimes rereading creates an illusion of learning. The text looks familiar, so the brain thinks it understands. But true understanding appears when you can explain the idea yourself. That is why retelling is so powerful. It transforms recognition into ownership. At first, retelling may feel difficult. Your sentences may break. You may pause. You may forget details. But that struggle is actually training. Every time your brain searches for words and rebuilds meaning, it strengthens English pathways inside your mind. Slowly, your thoughts become faster. Your sentences become smoother. Your confidence becomes stronger. And let me tell you something beautiful. You do not need advanced English to retell. Even simple English is enough. This story is about the writer explains. One important idea is, these small speaking patterns create huge progress when repeated daily. Fluency does not suddenly arrive one magical day. It grows quietly through repeated moments of active language use. Another powerful bridge between reading and fluency is reading aloud. Many learners only read silently. Silent reading is excellent for comprehension. But reading aloud trains different systems in the brain. When you read aloud, your eyes, voice, ears, pronunciation muscles, rhythm, and memory begin working together. This creates stronger language connection. At first, many learners feel shy reading aloud. They feel awkward hearing their own English voice. Some feel embarrassed because their pronunciation is not perfect. But let me tell you something honestly. Every fluent speaker once sounded slow and uncertain too. Fluency is not born from silence. Fluency grows from practice. Reading aloud trains natural sentence rhythm. It trains breathing during English speech. It trains pronunciation patterns. It trains confidence. And slowly, your mouth becomes more comfortable producing English sounds. The language stops feeling trapped inside your head and starts flowing outward naturally. One extremely powerful technique connected to reading aloud is shadowing. Shadowing means listening to English audio and repeating it almost immediately with the speaker. This method is used by many language learners, interpreters, and fluency trainers because it develops automatic rhythm and sentence flow. Imagine listening to a short English sentence from an audiobook or video and repeating it with emotion, pronunciation, and rhythm. At first, your brain struggles to keep up, but slowly, something amazing happens. Your brain begins recognizing sound patterns faster. Pronunciation improves naturally. Listening and speaking become connected. Shadowing also helps learners stop translating every sentence mentally. Instead of thinking word by word, your brain starts absorbing whole expressions and natural language chunks. This is extremely important because fluent speech is built more from patterns than from isolated grammar rules. And this brings us to one of the most life-changing habits you can build. Listen and read together. Many learners separate reading from listening, but combining them is incredibly powerful. When you read while listening to the same English audio, your brain receives language through multiple channels at once. Your eyes see the words, your ears hear pronunciation. Your brain connects spelling, sound, meaning, and rhythm together. This process accelerates familiarity. Words stop feeling abstract because now they have sound and emotional movement attached to them. This is why audiobooks, subtitles, podcasts with transcripts and narrated stories can transform fluency dramatically. Now let us build something practical and realistic. A daily 10-minute reading fluency system. Many learners fail because they try impossible routines. They force themselves to study for hours, then burn out emotionally. But fluency is not built through one giant effort. It is built through repeated daily contact. So here is a powerful system. First, choose a short and understandable text. Then preview it quickly. Read it silently for general understanding. Underline important ideas or useful phrases. Try to guess difficult words from context instead of stopping constantly. Then read one paragraph aloud slowly and clearly. After that, close the text and summarize it in simple English. Finally, if possible, listen to the audio version and shadow a few lines. This entire process can happen in only 10 or 15 minutes. But if you repeat it daily, something extraordinary begins happening inside your brain. Your brain starts building what scientists call pattern recognition. At first, English sentences feel random and confusing, but repeated exposure trains the brain to recognize common structures automatically. This is why learners suddenly feel one day that English has become easier. It is not magic. It is pattern familiarity. The brain loves repetition. Every repeated structure becomes easier to process. Every repeated phrase becomes faster to understand. Every repeated sound becomes more natural. Slowly, your brain stops translating and starts recognizing. And this is where long-term brain rewiring begins. Neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to change itself through repeated experience. Every time you read English, listen to English, retell ideas, or speak aloud, you strengthen neural pathways connected to language. The brain literally adapts to repeated exposure. At first, English feels foreign because the patterns are unfamiliar, but repeated contact changes familiarity, and familiarity changes confidence. This is why consistency matters more than intensity. 10 minutes daily rewires the brain more effectively than one exhausting session once a week. Something even deeper begins changing too. Reading changes identity. Quietly, slowly, powerfully. At first you feel like someone trying to learn English. Then, slowly, you begin feeling like someone who lives with English. You start understanding phrases automatically. You start noticing expressions in movies and conversation. You start thinking small thoughts in English. You start feeling emotionally connected to the language instead of afraid of it. This transformation is bigger than vocabulary or grammar. It changes how you see yourself. Reading expands not only language, but personality, imagination, thinking, and confidence. Books, articles, stories, and ideas slowly shape your inner world. And let me tell you something deeply important before we end this journey. Please do not measure your progress only by speed. Some learners become discouraged because they still feel slow after a few weeks. But language growth is often invisible in the beginning. Your brain is building foundations quietly beneath the surface. One day you suddenly realize you understood a paragraph without translating. One day you realize your reading feels smoother. One day you notice you remembered vocabulary naturally. One day you explain an idea in English without fear. These moments look small from outside, but inside the brain they represent enormous transformation. You are not just learning to read English. You are training your mind to live inside another language, and that takes patience, repetition, emotion, and trust in the process. So start small, stay consistent, read with curiosity instead of fear, read with attention instead of pressure, read with your mind awake and your emotions connected. Because the English you read today becomes the English you speak tomorrow. And if this video series helped you see English reading in a new way, then start your journey today. Read one page, retell one idea, speak one paragraph aloud, build one small habit, then repeat tomorrow. Because fluency is not built in one dramatic moment. Fluency is built quietly, day by day, page by page, thought by thought. Thanks for watching this video.